Mabrika. Here I am again. Yo, I got something to tell y'all. I did a whole, the reason why I named this Rechurch is because I have did a whole presentation and I'm thinking I'm recording, right? And it turns out that I did not connect it to my YouTube. And so it didn't record. It didn't upload. Nothing happened. So I'm gonna do this all again. So I named it Rechurch. So hopefully I can get that same momentum that I had because I was going in. Let me tell you, I was going in. But anyway, to start off again with the affirmation, let me first drink a little bit of this gold water. I made my own monatomic gold water with eggplant, and you let it sit. You pull salt, eggplant, and then you get that brown substance out of it. That's monatomic gold. Yeah, and you can do it from beets too. That's monatomic gold. Anyway, that's one of the secrets. So, but anyway, up to my brothers out there who's selling the monatomic gold. I don't know how they're making it and what they're doing, but they that's undone. But I drink it like this. It's good for you. It lowers heart pressure, blood pressure. It does a lot of good. It has a lot of monatomic gold. You got to research it. One of these days, we're going to do a little health little thing, and we'll talk about it and we'll look it up and find out. So anyway, let me start off first with the affirmation that I love, that I'm always starting out with, and that is, oh guardians, remember that your guardians are the guardians are the guides that has been, that are in the papyrus. Our ancestors left back papyrus, stones, writing on the walls, stones, and old tablets that are found in every part of the world, and to guide us, you know. And so those what I call the guardians, my ancestors, the guardians that left these great works. Oh heavenly ones, the etheric, your etheric parents, your ancestors that became your etheric, your light bodies, the inhibitors of Sirius and Orions. We're going to go through with that, some of the day. We'll talk about the constellations of Sirius and the constellation Orion, the guardians of the skies, the guides, in the skies, the protectors, the providers of this planet, the mother and fathers of the Homo sapien. O guardians, our Nebu, descend into and around me. Guide me in all I do. Make me in your own image and after your own likeness. Help me that I may help all Homo sapiens. Let me speak from your head, not from my own. Let me care from your heart, not from my own. Okay, and that is from this Go book. It's a book of many affirmations, and I like it because it had a lot of affirmations. It needs to be revived, but I try to revive it as my experiences and my understanding of things and my wisdom, and I try to take those words and 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 create my perspective, create my environment. But anyway, name it. I named this Rechurch because today's Monday, but this was done on a Sunday, and people go to church. I didn't want to bombard too many people with biblical things because they just came from church, so they got all this theatrics from church and whatever, and then to come home and then go on a live stream and here you are talking about biblical things. And the reason why I chose this is because, well, I've been following Sonetta TV, and I've been in other formats, platforms, and so this comes out of discussions, debates, and discussion comes up a lot. I mean, because we have a lot of people invested in religion, and I get bombarded by stuff from my family too about religion, the discussions about religion. And a lot of times, I say to myself, I don't want to seem like I know it all, and that I'm more qualified than anybody to speak on this stuff. But I'm gonna tell you something. I have studied comparative religion and theology for many, many years. I have invested myself in biblical quotes at a very, very early age. At 11 years old, 12 years old, I think I read the whole Bible from beginning to the end because it was a script. I was interested in theater. You know what I'm saying? It's a script, scripture, a script, a story, and that's going to lead us. Let's segue into this. This book, which we call the Bible, right? This book that we call the Bible, right, is a scripture, is a script. Now, if you study script writing, you understand that when you write a script, right, you have to involve characters. There's a storyline, a character. There's a backstory. There's character. You have to form a character grid, a backstory, and a location. So that's why I ask a lot of questions in order to start a conversation with anybody about the Bible. You always have to determine and ask them whether they know in the Bible, in Genesis, it talks about the garden, right? That Adam and Eve was placed in. This garden has a location. You got the Gison, Pison, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and it also mentioned Ethiopia, Havilah. Yeah, it mentions an area where the Hebrew word for garden is Gan. That's where they get the word Ganawa, a big garden, a big massive continent that included Africa, North Africa, South Africa, North America, South America, even the Greenland. All these continents, when you put them together, it fits like a puzzle. Was a massive, massive landmass that was named Ganawa. And in that landmass, there was a garden, a very huge garden. And specifically, when you read in Genesis, let me see, was it Genesis? I believe. Okay, it's Genesis 2, and it goes in verses 8, Genesis 2, verses 8, 9, all the way to 14. I mean, I can read it, but take out your Bible, let's read it. Genesis 2, verse 8, and it talks about, and now the Lord God had planted a garden in the east part of Eden, on the east part, right? And there he put man that he formed. Now, the Lord God made all kinds of trees to grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eyes and good for food. In the middle of the garden were the tree of life and also the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? Now, a river watering the garden flowed from Eden, where there was separated to 4 headwaters. 4. The name of the first is Pison, where the winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. So you got to understand, where was Havilah and where was gold? That means gold was already formed, right? And it takes millions of years to form gold. So it's not talking about, well, we'll talk about that later on, about the gold. And the gold in that land was good. It was good gold. And aromatic resin, and also the onyx was there. The black rock, onyx, black rock was there. And the name of the second river is Gizon. The wind through it, the winds through the entire land of Cush. So now you're talking about Cush, where Ethiopia is, And the name of the third river is Tigris, and the fourth river is Euphrates, right? Now, when you look at the Tigris and Euphrates, you're talking more towards the Middle East, and you're talking areas like Yemen, Iraq, Palestine. You're talking about that area in the Levant area, and then you're talking about the Nile River, the White and the Nile River. Okay, where they meet. So you're talking about this landmass, this garden, this border was placed in from what you call from the Nile, from Ethiopia to ancient Kemet, Ethiopia up to Sudan, all the way over to Saudi Arabia, all the way up to the Levant. This whole area, which at one time there was no Red Sea, but they called it Reed Sea. Reed Sea, a river, the Reed River, okay, where all the bunch of reeds, where they get the papyrus, where they grew a lot of the papyrus out of this riverbank. Now, but that wasn't there. So Saudi Arabia was in a way connected to the landmass which they call Africa now, and then the Levant area, so the Swiss Canal, and all this area was all connected. This, according to the Bible, according to the narrative, this was the area where the garden was placed. The garden, Gan, part of Ganawa, Gan was placed there. So you have what they call biblical archaeologists that they want to validate the scriptures, they want to validate religious texts. So they go into these areas and unearth it. They archaeologists, they unearth this area, and what do you think they find? Ancient civilization, yes. Ancient civilization, and mainly in Iraq, they found a lot of temples there and a lot of buried tablets, and all even through all Ethiopia, they find these tablets that dates thousands of years and has a narrative. It talks about the Anunnakis. It talks about the Anunnaki. You got the Illuminalish. You got the Epic of Gilgamesh. You got the Book of Eternal. You got all these tablets were unearthed and talks about these beings, Anunnaki. Someone was documenting this culture. And this is where the Bible is, the backstory of what the Bible is. The backstory of what the Bible is. So, people say, man, that's a lot. I mean, why do we have to study that when we have the Bible? Well, because the Bible is a translation of a translation of a translation. And in it, you can have mistranslation. So they put you in a trance by giving you all these different translations and mistranslations. Therefore, they put you again in that sunken place. The sunken place is that place where you are buried with lies and misinformation. The libraries. The libraries, get it? You get so bombarded by so much of this theologies, these polytheism. You get so much buried by all these different theology, ideologies, and all these different books and translations, okay, that you become placed more in the sunken place. You're buried. Those libraries bury you in that sunken place. And some people are satisfied with that. I don't fault them. Some people don't want to do the work. They need a little push and a little guidance towards that work. And they don't want to do the work. They're happy. Why do I gotta know? I don't want to know. I just want to believe. I just want to have faith. And then when you tell them, well, you can believe in your card. It'll take you to your destination, but not know there's a wheel broken. Remember that. That belief and knowledge and knowing is two different things. You could believe in that car, but not know there's a wheel broken. You haven't done the investigation. You haven't gotten out the car and done a diagnosis of your vehicle. And that's what's going on, man. I'm sorry, I gotta investigate. I gotta get in it. And I gotta find out. And then I gotta make sure that it's beneficial to me and my family and my people, and that it's in tune with natural nature. It has to be in tune with natural nature. So religion, some people are just so complicit to a lot of religious ideology because they're in that sunken place and they're happy. And you know what? I'm not one to take away no happiness or to take anybody's religion further, because I don't have a religion to place them in, because I'm not a religious person. So I don't have a religion to place, because some people need religion. The word from religion, radicale, The bound. Some people need to be bounded. Man, if I don't bound a person that in their mind is constantly thinking about pedophilia or constantly thinking about, if I don't bind them and hit them and whip them always with rules and regulations, if I don't do that, they're going to go running amok. So some people, religion has served its purpose in some sense. But for those of you that are innocent at heart and not down with that buffoonery, and you're stuck in religion and you have a lot of questions, man, why is this like this? Why is that? Why is it that in this day and time with the coronavirus going around that they had to shut down Mecca? They had to shut down the Vatican. They had to shut down Israel, Jerusalem, the mosque up there, the Oscar Mosque and the wall. They shut these centers of these religious ideologies. They shut them down. Even Buddhist temples, even they shut things down. You know, a lot of religious organization had to shut down and had to do things in Zoom. Church now is in Zoom. Why? Why is that when if you believe in God, God don't protect you from this virus? Or is this a man-made virus? This is a God virus that comes from God. A plague, what people say is a plague. But then how do you protect yourself from this plague? And why are you told not to congregate? Well, anyway, it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of questions that I have. At the same time, a lot of observation. You say that, damn. I mean, you know, and you know, you get the people in the narrative. Well, you know, the reason why we're going through this is because of the evil and the sins that we did. You know, man has been sinning since the beginning, and there's been plagues and viruses from the beginning, and I agree with that. You know, but as to say that it's coming, partly yes, it's coming from nature, but it's also coming from the nature of man, because man has the ability to alter certain things in nature. Man has that ability, the dominion, what they call the dominions over certain things. And so that also has to be discussed and also has to be in factor in. But anyway, wanted to a lot of people read the Bible just for literally in English, and they quite do not stand to reason that they're being put in a trance, a translation of a translation and mistranslation. And so I wanted to break a little bit of that spell. I wanted to break a little bit of that spell and to show you how others think about this and how others break the spell. What first thing I do is advise people is this: get yourself a Bible concordance. Try to get as close as you can to a text that means something different. In other words, the Hebraic text, which is not the original, because you will have to go into the cuneiform. But for the sake of this conversation, we're going to go into the Hebrew. And so get yourself a Bible concordance so that you can understand the translation and it can and can see the trance that's being placed on you. Okay? Now, for instance, when you read in English, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Let's start with in the beginning. That means the beginning is happening, and within the beginning, God said. Someone is narrating that God said something within the beginning. That means the beginning was happening. If God is in heaven, that means heaven is it's around God. So when God is in heaven, so same thing. In the beginning, that means the beginning is happening, and in it, Someone narrated that God said this. Now, that's in English. You can reason it like that. But now let's see what the Hebrew says. So in Genesis 1, it starts off with Reshi. Reshi, by way of. Reshi, by way of. By way of the first fruits. By way of an order. In other words, from chaos, you get order. So by way of a particular first fruit and order, this the Bible in English would say God, but in Hebrew would say Elohim. Now here's the first mistranslation of the Bible. So in this beginning that's going on, this first fruits that are beginning to flourish, Elohim, which is, anybody know Elohim? Anyway, you have the suffix im, him, im at the end. At the end of a noun, it becomes plural. So you say Elohim. It's like placing an S in front of a noun. Car or cars becomes plural. Same thing with Elohim, plural. So it's not God, one God. It's a multitude, plural. Now, I got into conversations with someone say, well, that's plural means that's because that's God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It doesn't say that. And that does not mean Elohim. Because when you look at the word Elohim, you got three variations of the word Elohim. Three variations. You got El, which is the realm of El. El is the highest form. El. You got Ilah, which is the realm of the angelic being, and then you got Elohim, or those like the angelic beings on a physical form. So the word Elohim in sacred order would be the physical realm. Magistrates, judges, those that sits on a high place within this domain, or within whatever domain they're in. And then you have the Ilah, or the watchers, or the overseers, the Ilah. And then you have the El, where in Sumerian text it will be An for Anu, right? Anakim and Anunnaki. In Arabic, Lahut, Malakut, and Nasut are those three, those domain. Now this is religion science. So that's your first mistranslation, because if you got a preacher telling you, and God's right there, your mind, that trigger word, you're thinking of a man that sits on a throne in the heaven, or you're thinking about, your mind now is reaching out for something outside of yourself. And it's a one, singular. So they switch you from a plural to a singular when it's plurally. And the word Elohim doesn't refer to just three. It refers to three or more. Okay? And then according to that text, it says, Reshi Elohim. That means the first fruits of the first fruits Elohim. Those that came first, the first fruits of the Elohim. In the ordinary sense, magistrates. And within the beginning, these Elohims by way of the first fruit, these Elohim created, which means bara, created, bara, by way of created, by way of existence, created. Now, here's the thing about creation. Now, you have to think, created. They use created, but that's creation. Well, in order for you to create something, you have to take it from something already that exists. So you have existence. Then you have creation. And creation, you got primary creation, then you got secondary creation, to tertiary creation. That breaks down too. But we're not going to go there because that's going to go more deeper into that. But bara, to create or cut down, make. Create is to make something, not to existence is already there, infinity. Existence is there. And when you grab it from existence and then you create or you make something, you fashion it. So it's saying that within this beginning, this thing, this existence that's happening, these Elohims, etheric beings, these Elohims, they made, created, made, eighth entities. They made Baraesh created these entities or created this blueprint. A blueprint. And this blueprint will manifest itself into the physical form. They created what? Blueprint of what? Of a heaven, a shamayim, shameh in Hebrew, which is a loftier and etheric, a higher etheric existence where the celestial bodies rotate, revolve. So they're putting things in order. This is according to this narrative. This is not going into metaphysical, physical science. This is according to this narrative. We're going to stick with this narrative of what it's saying here. But it's giving you, in the beginning, there's a blueprint that these beings, entities, the first fruits of the entities, they created or they made an etheric a high etheric realm. And within that realm, they created a heaven and the earth, which is erit, which is firm land or ground, a firmness of land or ground, or nation, a nation, wilderness or world. This word erit means many things. But putting it in this context would be they created a ground, a blueprint of a ground. In other words, as an engineer, you will make your blueprint and you get all your calculations, and then you manifest that in the physical form. Right? Better yet, let's look at a potter's man. So you can understand how creation works. So you have a potter's man who takes the clay that's already in existence, the clay, right? Puts the moist it, right? And then he shapes the potter with the potter wheel, starts turning. He shapes it, right? And he molds it to what he wants it to be. Right? He gives it a form. And then what he does? He steps away from it. And he lets nature, or he lets the nature of that material take its place. It starts hardening on its own. Well, it's the same thing with the blueprint of nature, and automatically nature takes its forms. And this is the same thing with the Elohim, able to built themselves, create a blueprint, and then see it take form. So this is go deep, 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 deep. And the reason why I'm going this route is because once you understand one thing, remember where we said that the location of where these stories come from, it's in the area where they unearthed all these tablets. This clearly how those tablets describe creation. Many cultures have different ways of describing the creation, but this book is mainly referring to this area and these tablets. And someone is narrating, someone is reading the tablets and narrating this. That's how you get the Bible. And that's what Moses did. He had to read certain tablets that was given to him to the Midianites, knowledge, and he had to narrate it. And it wasn't only him. Through the translation, you have different narrators that will come in and give their narrative and translate, which further puts us into a trance if we're not careful. So Baraish, then it speaks about here. Hold on one second. Now the earth, Edith, was Hayatahu. The Edith, Hayatahu. It was without form. It was formless. Hayatahu and Buhu, formless and void. And when you look at those words, that means when in the pottery, when everything settled, right? It was empty and it was an abyss. Tahu. It was a water planet. Because remember, this planet in its inception was all water. That's how you have the atmosphere. We are right now breathing water. We're water beings. We're breathing water. It's just fine atmosphere, fine water when it's not dense water. But we're still breathing water. 3/4 of our bodies of the earth is water. 97% of our body is water. We are water beings, plasmic beings also. We're in the whole constellation, the whole constellation or it's in a plasmic environment in order to survive and move around. It's plasmic. And then you have buoyancy. So the first beings on this planet were in a caverns or in an abyss. It's just like a fetus born and from the womb of a mother, it's in triple darkness, it's in water until it's ready to break the canal, start breaking into the tunnel and reach light, air, which is water, but in the fine sense. But in the so it's the same scenario. It's like these beings that were first fruits, these beings that the Elohim made or were the first fruits or were themselves were in this planet in the abyss because it's tuhu in tahu buhu in Hebrew. It was a wasteland, desolate abyss, and they were in that. And as they tried to go through these tunnels and see that there was what? Oh, another I forgot. Well, I'm going a little ahead of myself. So the dark and empty and darkness, which is the word chokshik, darkness, obscurity, And then the face, panim, again, pan, face, or yeah, structure face, pan, im, plural, which is all the nights, the darkness, the triple darkness, everything. Deep, tahum, tahum, the abyss, right? The spirit that they were viewing was ruach. Ruach. Ruach is breath, wind. A It could be an angry wind, it could be wind, breath. And as they are going through these tunnels and seeing that there is another existence of breath, another existence hovering, hovering, which is that spirit was hovering. It was moving, so it was relaxed and fluttering, and it was above them, upon them, which was hovering against them, above them, above the separation of watering, the dense watering, the mayim, the water. So they seen these beings that there was this breath, this other existence that was, and they had to break that canal and break and breathe that etheric, that air at that. But they were conditioned more to breathe in water. So that's how you have certain species, and also at one time the human species were able to breathe in under the water and also breathe out of the water through evolutions and through, mutation. So as human beings, we came out of waters. I mean, it's still happening today. We come out of our mother's womb, out of the water breaks, and then we find ourselves in another existence. Same thing. So this is what the scriptures, when you read those few sentences, you have to read it in the Hebrew to really stand to reason what's really being said here. But if you just read it in English, you're giving it a mistranslation. You're giving it, you're putting yourself in a trance, which is an English language, an Anglo-Saxon language, Celtic language, words, Latin. All this is putting you in a trance, into that sunken place, because you no longer want to do the work. You're complicit to that sunken place. And so you go to church and you got the theatrics and the choir, and you feel good. Now, one thing I could tell you about church, because I'm not against that totally. One thing about that church, that when I've been in church, one thing that I enjoy most is the fellowship. It's after the pastor does his thing, which you like, I'm falling out. We don't want to listen. And the singing, yeah, singing, and the corny ass songs. But some songs are nice. You got to get out a good choir. It'll definitely put your personality, your character will vibe with that, because that's the spirit. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool and everything. And that's when the theatric kicks in, and the lights and the whole thing, and the speech and all that theatrics. But after all that is done comes a fellowship, where people get together, they meet each other, they talk about certain things. For instance, I was a caretaker at the Science of Mind, a church up there in Orlando, Florida. I was the caretaker, so I had to prepare the area, the sanctuary, the area, and everything at the same time. When it came to fellowship, people would sit down and they go to the dining room, they eat and they discuss. I got other jobs, our handyman jobs and stuff like that at that time. So fellowship is good. You get to meet a lot of people. I got to meet an acupuncture, and I get to meet different people that are in that fellowship. And I'm cool with that, because remember, the church's religion is based on Freemasonry, or based on Masonry. and it's even laid out like masonry. And one thing about the lodge, after you do all the ritual and perform, there comes a section where it's fellowship. You know what I'm saying? You're eating together, you're conversing together, whatever, and that's what church is all about. It's creating that environment, But I'm I'm not feeling the theatrics, and a lot of times, a lot of these pastors that get up there are either hiding the truth or they just don't know, or they so programmed to be complicit within the sunken place by taking all these classes to become a clergyman or to become a pastor. When a pastor thinks out the box, right? Then he starts hitting areas where it's like you're like, wow, wait a minute, something here going on. But a lot of times, a lot of churches have a 501c arrangement with the state or the city or the government, and they have to abide by certain protocol. They have to teach certain things in order to keep that 501. So imagine you got a 501c, and then you go on the puppet, get it? Pulpit, the puppet master, and you start spitting some truth out there. You start cutting the strings to the puppet, and you start making people think for themselves, and then you start going into deep into where this religious narrative come from, and you start unleashing those binds. I don't think you'd be able to keep your 501c. It's contradictory. It's a contract. Gold water, monatomic gold. So, um, you know, I just read to you the very short version of what that the Bible says it in the Bible concordance. I look up those words in the Hebrew words and put it together and created a picture, because, like I tell you, the Bible is a scripture, and it's a certain people have rights to this playbook. This is their playbook. They play according to this book, and they are privy to a lot of knowledge that we're not privy to, and they keep that locked up. And what happened is that the translation they give you is they create a translation. They put you in a trance and put you into that sunken place. And once you're in that sunken place, you're in a dark or a void, in a place where if you want to get out of it, you got to fight your way out of it, and you got to shovel your way out of it, and you got to really truly seek in your heart the true light, which segue into what I was watching the Farrakhan speech on YouTube, the Criterion, which is, matter of fact, is a chapter in the Holy Quran. And when Farrakhan was speaking, I kind of like heard a lot of cold words in there, and a lot of behind the scene things that he was saying things, but you could see behind the scenes when he was talking about stories and how he traveled and things he had discussions with world leaders. And I was like, wow, this man knows. And he mentioned it. He knows the Son of Man. He knows Thoth or Tahuti, the Son of Man, and the Son of Tahuti. He knows the Messiah in this day and time. And you saying, but wait a minute, I didn't know Jesus. I'm not going to point him out, because I'm not going to be the Judah. Judah pointed it out, gave him the kiss and the kiss of death. No, you're not going to get that from me. No way, my brother. But I'm going to tell you something. Yes, I know the Messiah. And there are many Messiahs, but the massive masters, that character, that personality, yes, I know. And I know who he is. But I cannot say it because I'm not going to be the Judah. That's the example. I'm not going to be that Judah. And that's how Farrakhan gets down. He knows, but he's not a Judah. He's not going to point to you and say, it's him, that's him. And remember, the word Messiah means what? Messiah means to wipe clean. So yes, there are men that has wiped clean the sins of men, wiped clean the table that they created, the I won't say devil because I don't prescribe to that devil and God concept and stuff like that. But a certain what do you call it? Certain ideology, a certain organization, a certain a movement has created a table and having people eat from that table. So there is a man that has wiped that table and reformed. That's why he's called the reformer. Reformed it so that we may able to gain all this understanding of certain things so that we can stand over it and reason over it and stand in reason. And then what's beneficial for you, you live it, and that's how you gain your wisdom. Because wisdom is the history of knowing is knowing what's right and wrong in the history of things. So if I can tell you, because I walked through those hoods and I lived in those hoods and I know what not to say and what to say to certain hood people, and I know how to navigate my way, I gained that wisdom of that streets. That's called street wisdom because you lived it. When you live Islam, and you lived it. You pray 5 times a day. You do your Ramadan. You pray 5 times a day. Do your Ramadan. You acknowledge and you live this lifestyle. Then when you get out of it, out the box, you got wisdom because you know what's right and wrong in the history of that particular paradigm. Christianity the same. And Judaism the same. You lived it, so you know. And you have to live it in its pristine state. That means if you're gonna be a Muslim, be a pure Muslim. If you're gonna be a Judaism or a Hebrew, be a pure Hebrew. Live it. Know the language. Know the culture. Eat the food. Drink the drink. Abide by his laws. You know that at one time in Israel, even in the biblical, and we're talking Bible, they prayed 3 times a day. 3 times they fell to their face a day until the Prophet Muhammad came and changed it to 5 times a day for the Muslims. But the Hebrew prayed. So are you praying 3 times a day? Are you know what I'm saying? Are you following certain law? And then certain people say, oh, well, you know, when the Messiah, what they call him, Hashem, Masha, when he came, he changed all that. But not according to the biblical narrative, not according to what he says. No, he didn't come to destroy those laws. Oh, he just came to fulfill them. So he had to pray 3 times a day. And he prayed, and they guys seen him praying 3 times a day and adhering to the Sabbath. You have to live in this purity. And if you live Christianity, which I call Caucasianality, but Christianity, you have to live in this pristine state. And what is the pristine state? Before the Lutherans got a hold of it, the Protestants, and protested against what? The Vatican Catholic. The purest form of Christianity comes from the Byzantine, also became the Catholic Church, the Vatican. They're living their Christian idea, paradigm to its fullest. What a lot of Christians out there have are protesters that protest against the Vatican because of political situations and because ideology, and they created it a new, a separate, not a new, but a separate type of paradigm. And they say we're living like you're not living like the way according to the scripture, that narrative, that script of how Yeshua, Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, Jesus, Yeshua, Isa, Zeus, you know. So it's a totally different narrative. So when you live that, then you can say, man, I've gained wisdom because I'm able to come out the box and grab the jewels that are beneficial to me. Because when you have some jewels, you want to put them in a box, right? But then the box is an enclosure, and you want to be able to get out of that box, grab those jewels, and use it, and it's beneficial to you, so that you can, that's wisdom. Is knowing how to move with that knowledge and that understanding, and knowing what's right and wrong in that particular history of that, or the story of that particular paradigm or that thing. That's wisdom. So a lot of religious people are just complicit. They're happy in being in that sunken place, and it's fine. You want to, some people just don't want to. Maybe some people never heard things. And if I tell people, well, if you think I'm not telling you the truth, everything is half truth anyway. But if you think that you can not see any truth in what I'm saying, and you cannot say it's a lie, because if you say it's a lie, then you have to debunk it. The burden is on you. You have to debunk it, because in order for you to debunk something, you have to prove that it's false. You can't prove it's false because I'm showing you the source, Bible concordance, and I'm giving you the Hebrew words and what those words mean and what it is what it means. You cannot debunk that because it's right there, written. But people are, you know, and then when you want to go deep into what's written in the Hebrew, then you got to go back into the Sumerian, the cuneiforms. And it's the Sumerian dialects and the writings, it's cuneiforms that are in those tablets that were found in the area that, according to the script, the location of that particular scripture is located at. It's just like I said, they take those tablets, they read it, they decipher it, and they put another narrative and they translate it and put you more into that particular trance. And remember when I spoke about the 5 points: politics, psychology, philosophy, pineal, and what is one? Polytheism. Is they bombard you with polytheism, this theology, bombard you by so many theology that they bury you with these libraries that in it are books on theology, and they bury you into this sunken place. And I'm not telling you don't research. No, when you research, you search again, right? You can research, but understand that in order for you to tell a lie, you gotta know the truth. So you have to find within those lies the truth. So let's say in these libraries, which very rarely you'll find a tablet. Let's say you find the Illumination or the Book of Etana. You find that book. Oh, now they got the book of Enoch. not different than a biblical book, but the Book of Etana, right? Or the Epic of Gilgamesh. Read it. It tells you a certain story, a script. Read it and see if you can find that in one of those libraries. See if you can find those documents, those tablets. Now, the one person that unearthed and that were consistent and brought out a lot of knowledge was Zachariah Sitchin. So if you find books on Zachariah Sitchin and those books, that'll give you more of a translation. Again, translation, but he kept it closer. You can get more closer until you're able to read cuneiform and go into the actual words and gain your form your information, form your theories, your knowledge, your search, quest for that search, questions, and then find the answer, ansar, the help. So I mean, sorry. Okay. So there's a lot of there there's a lot of discussion. And you know what? They don't want me on side letter. Because if anybody try to come on me with this biblical narrative and this and that, man, I just have to pull out the Bible concordance. I gotta do what that young lady in the Shadar does. Deep, smart, is pull out that Bible letters and the concordance and go into the actual words. And you will see that it doesn't mean what it means in English. It's deeper. It's just that in English it's a very poor mistranslation. The King James Bible is a mistranslation of the pure text, of other texts, of a translation of a translation, and they put you in the sunken place because, like I told you, one of the polytheism is one of the principles of the five-pointed star that's being put on any nation that this particular families and dynasties controlling the world put on a city and state and country. The star, wherever you see the star in any country or any city and state, wherever you see the five-pointed star, not the 6 point, that's different. The 5 pointed star, the 6 pointed star goes in deeper. That's another P for pharmaceutical, but we're not gonna go there. But we keep it with the 5 pointed star originally. Got it right here because the island of Puerto Rico, which is a misnomer for Borinque, right? Red, white, and blue. The red and the blue, politics, the winning control of the government, right? And then the white, the Caucasianality, Christianity, and then you got that 5 pointed star because that's principles that were stamped on a colony, stamped on a people to tell them what's going to rule you is politics. In your school is going to be psychology and psychology. The penal system is your reward and your punish system. And then you got your polytheism. You can have Christianity, you can have many gods you're going to be buried into many theology. Many different forms of theology. For the Christian church, you got the Protestant, you got the Seventh-day Adventist, you got so many different, what they call denomination. You have so many, but there's all Christianity is numeration. Christianity is on top, but then it has subgroups of all, and same thing with Islam. Same thing. You got the Shiite, you got the Wahhabis, you got the Sunnis, you got the Ansar, you got all those different types of schools of thoughts within that Islamic state because they also under the 5 pointed star. Just look at their flag and look at what represents them. You know. So there's sunken. So that's how they keep you in the sunken place. Is the hex? Is that five-pointed star was placed over you? And they learned that from the Babylonians, and they learned that from ancient Kemet. So you have these family, what they call the Cabal dynasties, that go trace their descendancies all the way back into the pharaohs of the later times in ancient Kemet when it was falling. The Ptolemy era pharaohs, where they were more Caucasians, mixed Greeks and Caucasians. Those pharaohs, families, and then you got the Babylonian Empire. They married in within the Assyrians and all these other groups, and it became the Babylonian Empire. And then from there, the Greek Empire, you know, and then from there, you got the Roman Empire. And the families that trade, these families and this system has been in power on earth for almost 50,000, what is it, 10,000 years, almost 10,000 years. And at 6,000 years is when they instituted and they instituted the whole narrative of the Bible. So you're talking 10,000 years that these families been ruling, man, the cabal. And now in today's day and time, they're known as the banking cartels. They're known as certain families, global families, black nobility in Vatican City, the black nobility, tracing their way back into Caesar, tracing their all the way back into Roman Empire. You got the banking cartels, you got the Russian Khazars, you got these dynasties, Rothschild, all these dynasties are offshoots of other dynasties and on and on and on are descendants. And now what you have is their empire is fallen. That's it. It's done. They lost. People becoming awakened. And you know why? Because they never factor in this new fourth industrial revolution of the AI and the internet, the AI and robotic. They never factor in of how people are going to become more aware, the information, the access to certain internet information. So that's why you have whistleblowers. They never factor that in. They never. Now what they're trying to do is correct it by creating, like, for they got 30 countries or 30 companies, 30 countries that specifically what they do is they fact check the internet to make sure they're controlling the narrative on the internet. So you got companies that are forcefully doing that. Facebook is one. Instagram, all these, they fact checking things. You know, they already fact checked the whistleblower, wasn't it, David Icke? They fact checked them and they eliminate, they trying to eliminate him from YouTube and from Facebook and from the internet. Because that's you know, that's a technique. And when you talk about the fourth industrial revolution, let me tell you something. I was talking to some my brother, and this is the last thing that I'm gonna go into, but it's interesting because you know you had the Third Reich in Germany, and they were saying that the Germans under the Hitler regime was very, very advanced in technology, very, very advanced people. And they even claimed that Hitler never died in the bunker, which I believe. He didn't die in the bunker. They smuggled him and they took him out of the bunker. They took him out and he went into Argentina, into South America. They had, you know, they have a documentary following Hitler. Check out that documentary, and they went back. And these are people that are out there researching things. They're whistleblowers. They're out there searching, and they find big German communities in Argentina and Brazil and Argentina and South America. They're finding a lot of Germans out there. And this is what I got to say about that. And what they call the Fourth Reich. Fourth Reich. Hitler was ahead of his time. He knew that he was against those cabals. He knew their rule was done. That's what was the rise of Hitler. That's why they didn't like Hitler. It's because he knew their time was up. The black nobility and even Vatican, he knew their time was up, and he was about creating the new world that they call the New World Order. That's why Bush and all of these Germans descendants are about the New World Order, because that's what Hitler wanted to do, because he knew their rule was coming to an end soon. So he wanted to create the New World Order, the future. And he spearheaded that future in technology and even in politics. This is what he did. So when he escaped to Argentina and South America, now you remember like about a year ago, there's a lot of fires in Brazil, and they cleared out all those indigenous tribes, and massive fires in the Amazon, and massive fires in Australia, and a massive fires in Africa, in like the Congo, in that area, it's an area in Africa, massive fire. Well, if you know anything about construction, before you construct a mall, you construct a big complex, you burn, you burn that land. You burn those trees. You burn. You always see. I used to drive through Florida, and I used to see this massive landmass being burnt. And then you come back years later, you see a mall. Well, what do you think is happening in Brazil, in the Amazon? Is that the fourth red usher in the fourth industrial revolution, the fourth world. We're in the fourth world coming in, and they want to control it. And so what they did is, at construction, burn down these areas because they're going to build new cities, AI city, artificial intelligence cities. Remember, you're hearing it here, brother. You're hearing it. And it's out there. I'm going to put it out there. I can't do nothing to stop it. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I'm putting it out there. So they're going to create in Australia. In Australia, a lot of Germans went to Australia too. So they are creating a new empire. They're getting ready to create new cities and an empire where the fourth industrial revolution will kick in. And this new empire dynasty will continue. They're trying to get an extension, but in order for them to get an extension, they have to look for another locality. They can't do it in Europe. They can't do it in Rome. They can't do it in Greece and America. They can't do it no more because America is part of Europe. It's a subdivision of Europe. They can't do it no more there. And in America, they'll probably think they can. They're tricking people. There's fires out in certain rural parts, and watch these cities come up all over the world. New cities, a new empire is going to rise, and it's going to come out the South America, not in Europe, not in Africa. In Africa, in certain areas, they're going to have control because that's what the Chinese are trying to do. Africa is going to be the new Chinese dynasties are going to be there because they're also part of this new world order. They're neck and neck with Germans. So they're trying to find new areas where they can kick their fourth industrial revolution. They can kick in the new era by creating these cities, these AI cities, and robotic 3D cities. You know, and they're changing the and that's where they're changing the reality, what we know as biological reality, and more towards virtual reality. You know, now you can put in that goggle and you see, and you can walk the street and you see things that you don't see with your naked eye, but you see them through a virtual eye because there's a virtual reality out there. And that's what the 5G, they broaden up that bandwidth to allow these 3D this 3D or this technology, virtual reality, to coexist with our biological reality we are today, creating a dual reality. So it goes really deep. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, right? A sci-fi movie. Yeah, yeah. Because that's entertainment. They're entering your mind, entertaining it, so that when things happen around you, or they create certain scenarios, then you're gonna look at it as, oh yeah, that's all. It's not real. It's not real. You got crisis actors out here who also are actors in movies in Hollywood. So you know that's a narrative, man. That's what's going on. But anyway, we went into the script because I'm a script writer, right? I got one script that I'm working. I'm almost finished with two scripts. But this is the second one that I'm working on, and probably convert it into a book. You know, but when you study script writing, and I advise people, hey, study script writing. It's about writing. Study writing because what the journalism, because in the English language is based on scripts. You know what I'm saying? And there's a backstory to a script. There's a character grid. There's plots. And you look at the Bible, you're reading a script. There's plots in there. There's a backstory to the whole story. There is a locality, a location. When they send out the location manager to go out to seek a location so they could put a story, they could film a story. So this is what this is. I want everybody to really think about that, you know, and don't get so caught up in this movie because Shakespeare said it. Because Shakespeare is one of the translators of this book, one of the translators that helped King James. Shakespeare, Charles Tensdale, and and he said it. The world is a stage, and we are just actors in it. They create that stage, and then they act out the part, and that's what they do, and that's what the black nobility do. And they're in trouble now because you have whistleblowers and you have people that were for humanity, like Roberto Rosal and Ferdinand Marcos, where they took, when it comes to finding the gold. See, because the nobility, those cabal is really interested in gaining the gold. The gold goes way back. Then you read in the scriptures about the gold. Gold will go way back. And that's why this planet was mined for gold, because gold is a conductor. Electromagnetic forces on Earth through gold. And so in World War II, they wanted to they took a stockpile of the gold around the world, the gold that belonged to humanity, and they stockpiled it and put it in bunkers in the Philippines. To check out Karen Hudes speaks about that because she's a lawyer that has to trustee the document, and she sits on that committee that protects, that Rizal and Marcos formed, that protects the gold that belongs to humanity, and it's kept in bunkers in the Philippines. That's the reason why they wanted to start World War III in the Philippines, because they want access to that gold, but that shit is monitored by the what they call the Board of Governors, 188 governors around the world that monitor this committee that monitors that right there, because that's the substance of the earth. And it goes into other deeper stages, about the alien life forces and all that. But we're not going to go into that right now. But keeping it simple, you know, this is the global currency reset that's going on now. and United States, a bankrupt corporation, is you know with Donald Trump. They're trying to negotiate their way through this. They have to because they're trying to get out of the thumbs of the Federal Reserve, this which is owned by the cabal, and the cabal are Jesuits, are the Israelites, or Caucasian Jews that sits in Israel, and that's the strong arm, the Mossad. The Mossad controls the CIA, controls all these different agencies. They train them. Even your police force is trained by Israeli Mossad paramilitary groups. They train them here or they train them abroad. That's the reason why that whole choke thing came out of there. And that's what's happening. So the cabal, or what they call the black nobility, and I say black nobility, don't mean that it's black people, noble black people. No, they call them the black nobility, like the black pope, because they call that because they stay in the containers. They sit clandestinely. They sit disguised covertly, and they're running things covertly out here. And you can know this stuff, but you can't do nothing about it because the people are not that well informed about it. No matter how much I say it about, talk about it, anybody else talk about it, they're not they're not gonna listen. They're just not. So what do you got to do? You got to protect yourself, your family. You got to protect yourself and your mind, your domain, your character, personality, which I call spirit. You got to protect yourself, and you have to move. Live your life. I don't believe to each his own. No, because if anybody needs my assistance, they're gonna get it. And if I have to come on here and speak about these certain things and put it out there so that you can do your research and find out, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. Damn, I just found this out. Oh, because let me tell you something. In this fourth revolution, they're not factoring something is they're not factoring the fact is that everything is being revealed. So what they do, that being revealed, they'll try to switch the narrative and the script and they put crack actors here and there and there. But somewhere it leaks out. You got these whistleblowers out here in all nationalities and ethnic groups and races. Whistleblowers are out here and they out here blowing that whistle saying, yo, 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 what's going on? Because they are fearful and they say they haven't, they're tired of living their life in certain ways. A lot of them are targeted. You know, right now, this whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein, when they caught him, Jeffrey Epstein, and then he tried to become a whistleblower, and they iced him out, or they extracted him, and now keeping him quiet. Now they got this gasoline Maxwell, and she's gonna start spilling the beans on a lot of people because they're gonna make deals with her. They're gonna tell her, look, things have changed. It's no longer the way y'all knew it, and y'all cannot get down with that anymore. That pedophilia ring and that Baphomet, that secret covert society that you guys had, the multi-billionaire, the billionaire, millionaire, both billionaire club and all that. Your guys are done, done because everything is being revealed. We can't hide it anymore. They got cameras up your rectum revealing everything. So you gotta have your shit together because I ain't going down with you. This is what they telling. And so this young lady is gonna if she gets a chance, she might spill the beans. It all depends on what kind of deal she can get out of this. Because she's a smart girl. She gonna try to get in. What kind of deals can I get out of this one? How can I get out of this? And you know what I'm saying? And let's see how that plays out. Let's see how that one plays out. But that's their world, which tells us it's done, over. You know, The chosen ones are starting to see and starting to live their life as the chosen ones. They're starting to see what's going on, awaken. And then, like I said, the Messiah, Son of Man, that character and personality that they speaks about in the scriptures is a character personality that existed since the beginning of time, and it's regenerating and reincarnating in a man who is living out his life a certain way. But like I said, I can't point you the finger. I can't point to the him. I cannot. And remember, he's the head, and then there's the body, and this consciousness is raised. I cannot point finger because I'm not a Judah. And he's gonna be a thief in the night. But when it's time for you to see, man, everything around you, and that's what's happening, is that you're so much in the sunken place or whatever, you miss that claw. You're not being pulled out of the muck and mire. Why? Because you're being bombarded by so much ideology and theology, keep these libraries that's keeping you in this sunken place. Okay, you got books on this, books on that, but you got a big, huge libraries. You yourself got libraries. You're buried in this, in lies, half truths. When you should be breathing, experiencing life, experiencing life, and being aware, and stop being disgruntled, stop being, you know, I don't know what to say about that, man, really, to be honest with you, because it's sad, you know, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. You know, but there's the chosen ones, and they're speaking. We call the children of light, the children of the black light. And you know how the black light, when you go underneath the black light, it shows all the specks and all the stuff that comes out of your wardrobe and your skin or whatever. It reveals it. Well, that's what the black light does. And when you have that black light in you, you illuminate it, and you get to see the specks. You get to see things around you and saying, "Damn, that's not that's moat. That's tainted. That's moat." You know, and we all have a degree of that. Let me tell you something. But the thing is some of us are complicit. Some of us are happy to be in that sunken place. Because you know how you know a person's in a sunken place? Because you start bringing in certain other different narrative and the thing, well, I don't want to know. I'm happy the way I am. I don't want to know. It's too much. It's crazy. All this and that and that. But they have not considered or reasoned what's being said and saying, man, wow, I never thought about it like that. It's a possibility, whatever. But let me, you don't have to be a good or saint, innocent, a good person. You don't have to be in the church in order to be that. The church can't teach you that. That has to come from within. And then when you get with people within who are of the same character and personality as you, then you congregate, or you communicate with them. And that's a a consciousness which is not bound by any building, It's not bound by any philosophy or bound by any religious sect or religion, because that's the consciousness of the earth. Now you're getting yourself in tune. And then when you go back into that church, you go into the fellowship and you help people pull out of that muck and mire. Because I want to make sure that the next person next to me is of a sane mind and it's not insanity. Giddy is not insanity. So it goes, you know, there's many things that we can think about that. Anyway, I just wanted to do this podcast, and I'm hoping I'm going to check it and make sure that it's did a 1 hour and 25 minutes. Wow. So I just want to make sure that this is going to show on my YouTube, and I'm hopefully people will listen, and just listen. I'm just having a conversation. Hopefully one day that people can get on. I want people to let's get on with me and let's have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Right now you can't call in, but when we do Zoom or something where you can come in and we can have this conversation because I'm interested. Oh, sorry. I'm interested to know what people that I know are thinking about because, again, the thing is not to be too complicit in the narrative and to be aware so that when the light comes to you and it hits you and that character personality, and then you are aware of it. It's not an act, it's not a play because you got people coming out here, oh, yes, Jesus, and I'm touched and I'm blessed and this and that. But they're not really touched or blessed because they don't even understand what that means. How did he touch you? Did you feel his hands on you or what? I mean, if you're talking figuratively, you're speaking the English language, what's going on? It doesn't make sense. But you know what I say is that I had I've had the privilege, like many of us, had the privilege of ascending within ourselves, ascending up to the pineal gland. And that's when they talk of the true Israelite. Israel is those that ascend and descend into the realm of El, the definite article El, the ascend through the pineal gland and able to reach that. Now, some people do it with chemicals, hawassa or peyote, and when you do those things, you have to be with a priest and you have to be with a shaman, and you can do it chemically, but your body chemically have DMT in it. You can reach these level if you fast and you meditate and asking you should receive, seeking you should find, knocking the door should be open unto you. And that's what I tell everybody. You can reach those heights and the pineal gland and open up that. But I'm gonna tell you something. Some people are not ready for that because again, there's so much in the sunken place. They become complicit to it. They don't want. They don't want to know. They don't want to know. Okay. Moses went up. Moses was taught by a Median priest, and when you look at the Median culture, they had certain they had certain rituals and certain rites of passage with certain plants that were used. That's what we talk about. The bush, the burning bush, was a bush that was burning, that would, when consumed, would open up your third eye and put you in a different type of reality. People don't want to get into those conversations. They don't want that. They don't want to know. And then they don't want to know about the moon gods and sin and Mercury. Yeah, they don't want to go into that conversation because, like I said, it's a lot. It's a lot. And people are so complicit with their religious thing. And that's fine. You want to be complicit in your religion, but that's okay. But study it to its fullest. Learn the Hebrew and then learn how to get out the box so you can see the jewels in it. I'm a true Islamic Hebrew, because I understand the Abrahamic faith, and I understand that a lot of that bloodline has seeped into people of Africa and people of South America. I understand that. But let me tell you something. I'm not about the 12 tribes. The character and personality of the 12 tribes, yes. But the actual lineage, Israel's no more. The people of Jacob are no more. That was passed on to Ishmael. The responsibility went on to Ishmael. So we, in actuality, are Ishmaelites with the spirit, the character, and personality of our brothers who were Israelites. When you look into the genetics of it and you look at that story, I bring up 2 Kings 17 from 18 to 20. Read that. And it's telling you Israel's no more. Only put the tribe of Judah, and then the tribe of Judah was so dismantled. The only original remnant of the tribe of Judah went into Ethiopia, the Phalashin, and they got so dismantled. And then it wasn't until Bilal, who was an Ethiopian from that Israelite camp, that went over to bring the scepter to the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessing be upon him, to bring him that scepter. Now, I'm talking religion, I'm talking culture. Now, I'm not telling you that, I'm telling you that's part of who we are. That's all part of who we are. Yeah, we're Muslim, people of peace. We're Israelites in the sense of we're Hebrew because we crossed over. We're Israelites because we had ascended through the pineal gland to the realm of El. We're Christian because Christo or Charast, the anointed, the Charast, the anointed Messiah has, we're that too. But we're in his body, the character personality of the Messiah, his body. And it's all relative, it all relates to each other, relative, all relates. It's just, you have to put the pieces together. And you got to be true and not be too into that sunken place. People, what they call the sunken fallacy is when you're so invested in your particular thought pattern, philosophy, or so invested in your religious practice that you can't see your way out of it. You can't come out of the box and think out of the box. And by thinking out of the box doesn't mean that you should leave your innocence or your morality. You should leave that. Because if that's in you already, it's going to be no matter where you at. A good person is a good person. An innocent person is an innocent person, no matter where you at. You can be an atheist, and when I say atheist, people got to understand the English language. That before it wasn't an A, it was an E. So you're an etherist. So you invested etherist, or like a percussionist or a chemist, is that you invested in that particular art or that particular thought. So if I'm a percussionist, that means I'm invested in the art of percussion, right? I study it, I'm in it, that's what I do. So being an etherist, you're invested in the ether, which is what they call the heaven and haven, the etheric realm. You're invested in that. That's all that means. Doesn't mean you don't believe in nothing. You can believe in being an etherist, or you can know. So I'm an etherist also, because I understand what ether is about because of personal experience. You know, there was a time, and then real briefly, there was a time that I had problems with my tonsil. I was always getting sick. So my mother, I went to the surgery, the throat and the throat, what they call the throat, the ear, uh, um, um, hospital, and they had to do surgery. They had to take out my tonsil. But at that time, what they used to do is they used to put you in a gurney, tie you down, and put a mask over you of ether and blast you with ether. And bro, you could smell, to this day, I can smell what ether smells like. It's a gas. I could smell it, and what it did was to put me in a wormhole into space. And here I am, into space, etheric realm. Ether is the gases that are in the void, the vacuum, what you call space, the vacuum. The ether is in there, and that's through experience. So I'm able to distinguish what is ether and what is physics, physical reality, and etheric reality. So it's through experience. I'm not telling about you got to go through an experience, but some people they experiment with certain drugs that put them in that state, or you can meditate. It takes longer. You meditate in certain diet. You meditate and constantly meditate and say certain affirmation that put you in that state, and you will understand what is the etheric state. It's part of who we are. So that that's you know through experience. We got to know what you as a person, what you experience. It's what you experience, and that strengthens your character and personality, which is your spirit, the breath, that spirit, your personality and your character, right? Strengthen that. And some people look for other characters, like they go into the Bible and they look for certain character and personality to strengthen their character, but they have to be careful with that because that's necromancy. It's another form of necromancy because some of those characters in those biblical characters are gone and dead. They're dead gases. They're etheric gases. Became etheric gases now. It's good to honor them, but it's be careful when you start necromancy and starting dealing with your character and personality. You know, you could lean more towards life and your experience in life. So I love my Hebrew brothers or Israelite because it takes a strong character and personality to be invested in that whole paradigm. So I see that, but and you have to be very very careful. They're warriors, and one thing about Israel, they grow the beard, the full beard. There's people in our race that grow full beards because they have that genetics character of the blacks that were in the Levant area, that part of it. But then some of us don't grow full beard. Like I don't grow full beard, but I grow this part of me, which is more towards the other side of the Nile River, Sudan, and more the African. Some Africans don't grow beard. The Khoi Sans don't grow beards like that, and they, what I'm saying. So we have a mixture of all this in us. Because in my family, I have those that can grow full beard. Those are indicators of the different nationality and ethnic groups that we are part of. So when you look at the black race, what they call the black consciousness race, people that invested in black, in that race, African, you have to look at the different species within that race. Also, like the Chinese, the Asian race have different also species and within their race. The Mongolian race and the Caucasian have different type of species within their race too. That's the reason why you got Celtics, you got the Scottish, the Scots, you got the Anglo Saxons. All these are different ethnic groups. So you also have that within the African or the Nubian race. I call the more correctly term that I like to use is Nuba, the Nuban, and the Nuba race. We are Nub, Nebu. We are Nub people, people of the golden sun. Nub. That's what we are. We melanate. I'm a more of a chameleon. I mean, in the winter, my skin turns light, but when I go in the sun, I can turn very, very dark black. My mother is dark. My family from my mother's side My grand dark. Even for my grandmother, dark, reddish, dark. So we come in different hues, you know, as a people. And we have different, we've been put in that sun with different theologies. But you know something? That theology of Judaism or Israelite was ours. We created it first. We created it first, right? But they hijacked it. We created Christianity. They hijacked that. The Byzantine hijacked the Christianity from ancient Kemet. We had the Israelite paradigm. They hijacked that. Islam. We created Islam. They hijacked that. The protests. They hijacked that. They're known to hijack our our movements. And you know what? Give it to them. You want it? You can have it. We know who the originators are. You can have it. We're going to keep going on and create a new heaven, a new earth. We're going to keep creating because change is constant. Change is one of the laws of nature. Change. And so we have to continue on what? Changing those paradigms into they hijack. Come up with something until they hijack. Once you see it in their dictionary and you see the Caucasian talking about they this and that, well, let them have it. Because you see, they take that and they benefit out of it. They create the Vatican City out of Christianity. They benefit off of that. They created their Jerusalem, their city, right? They created that. They created their Mecca, which in the beginning, all those places were created by the black race. You know that. Even Vatican City. Oh yes. Oh yes. Let them have it. Let's go create something else. Let's come together and let's create something else. Another paradigm. Let's create something else. You got the Nuwapians on the road to creating something different, the Sabah culture. But let's even though let's keep going, keep going, and let's come together. Let's our commonality, community. You know, I don't say black conscious community. I say black global conscious community because it includes Israelites, it includes Christians, and it includes Muslims. It includes atheists. It includes all occultists, people invested in the art of the occult. All of them, they're people. It's humanity. But like I said, you don't have to be a good person to be in any of those things. And understand those are bots. And within it, there are jewels. Yeah, I can go into the cult practice and find jewels in there. I can go into the black magic and find jewels in there. I can Christianity and find jewels in there. I can go into Islam, find jewels. I can go into Israel and find jewels. Reincarnation, again, incarnate, carne, flesh, reincarnate into these different schools of thoughts. And that's what the Messiah and that's what the Master of Masters doing, incarnating within and teaching in all these different schools of thought. But like I said, I'm not going to point the finger to him because I'm not a Judah. No, no, no. You have to find that on your own. You got to reason that one out. I'm reading a very good book right now, and it's good. The Contempium of the Emerald Tablet by Billy Carson, and there's a bit bigger the guy. And I'm reading the Emerald Tablet. Man, it talks about that being thought. It talks about Tahuti and the regeneration and how he's able to incarnate into different schools, what they call schools of thought, and with all of that, why he was told to do that, and who is he, and how to recognize. But you see, like I said, I'm not a Judah. And Farrakhan, I thank him very much. He knows. That's the reason why they try to kill him. Not only because of what he said to the Jewish state, they try to kill him. They poisoned the seeds, the radiated seeds he was talking about. He said they try to kill him, but he's there because he knows. Elijah Muhammad knew because Farad had already told him to what to look for. So they knew. Malcolm X knew. Martin Luther King knew. All these saints, leaders knew of the real expected one, the Mahdi of this day and time, the true Mahdi of this day and time. They know the Messiah of this day and time, wipe clean, go into those schools of thoughts and clean it out and reveal things, reveal apocalypse, reveal what's going on, like they reveal in Revelation. So the different schools of thoughts, Samaria, Philadelphia, all those are the schools of thoughts, churches, schools of thoughts, and comes giving a message back then, which is today, and it manifests today in a man, in a child, in a man, and a man who's doing the same works, but like I said, I'm not a Judah, so I'm not going to point the finger. I'm not a follower. I'm not a follower. I don't follow. I walk with. I walk with that spirit, that character and personality. I walk with it. I ain't perfect and he ain't perfect. I make mistakes, he make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But we keep going. We learn by those mistakes. And some of us have to pay punishments and this and that, but we learn from those mistakes and we keep going. And we're aware of the other side, those night forces. You have to be careful because they're out here. They got their way of being. They got their agenda. So look out for that. The fourth industrial revolution, study, read up on that, and read up about the fourth Reich, and read up in the area on which is concentrated. Remember, everything has a backstory. Read it and then check it out. Put it together. Geography. Put it together, and you see that in South America, they're trying. In South America and Australia, in the lower half of the hemispheres, both east and western, they're trying to create the new empire. A new empire. And that empire is dealing with virtual reality, AI, robotics, 3D, quantum physics. It's dealing with a whole new era for fourth world, a whole new era, which it's a new paradigm in which the old what we knew is no longer. No longer. Anyway, peace and blessing. I'm gonna go get something to eat. And wadu and I love you all. And there's no way to dismean my Israelite brothers and sisters, which I love very much. No way to dismean or anything. It's only me expressing myself and letting you know as one Israelite to another. There are questions. There are jewels within the box that we need to hold on to, grab, and there are um the box we got to think out of the box and we got to know how to get out of that box and keep moving. Don't let them because they're going to flip the script like they already did. They stop congregations. They stop from you from creating your community. What they're saying now is you can't create no community no more because you got to self distance yourself. You can't create communities no more. We ain't, you know what I'm saying? They script this, they flipped the script, bro. They flipped that script. Are we gonna allow that to happen? You know what I'm saying? But there's many of us here that don't hear that. You know, when it comes to it, hey, we're gonna get out there and get busy, and we're gonna let them know that we are free people. And if you try to harm me, I'm gonna come back and try to harm you. I ain't turning the other cheek. I'm sorry. I'm gonna sell my robe and grab a sword. That's another quote. Anyway, peace, love, and blessings.